Okay, so today we're diving deep on the UK's Trident program.
Right.
You sent over some excerpts from the Wikipedia article,
Yes.
which is a great place to start, I see.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's less about sort of like what Trident IS,
Right.
like we're assuming that you kind of know
Yeah.
that it's their nuclear weapon system,
Mm-hmm.
and more about, I guess, the WHYs,
Yeah.
like why it matters and what the arguments are around it, and what it kind of says about the UK's place in the world.
You've hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
I mean, the UK's continuous at-sea deterrence posture
Right.
is a fascinating concept to grapple with.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just possess nuclear weapons.
Right.
It's about having them constantly ready to launch,
Yeah.
creating this persistent uncertainty
Right.
for any potential adversaries.
It's like a
Yeah.
silent chess game
Absolutely.
going on beneath the waves.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the history of the UK's nuclear program
Yes.
is quite the journey when you think about it.
It is.
Yeah. They went from like those early freefall bombs
Right.
delivered by the V-bomber force
Yeah.
to the sophistication of submarine-launched ballistic missiles.
Yeah, and that shift, really,
Yeah.
to submarine-launched missiles with Polaris in the 60s
Right.
really marked a profound change, I think, in their
Yeah.
thinking.
It's a whole different ball game, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah.
because it reflects a move away from a solely retaliatory force
Okay.
to one capable of more flexible and ambiguous deployments.
Right. So it's
Much more nuanced.
it's not just like if you attack us,
Exactly.
they're gonna
It's far more,
yeah.
open to interpretation, shall we say.
And of course, in the 1980s, they decided to upgrade to Trident.
Right.
Was that just about getting like shinier tech,
Okay.
or were there like deeper strategic reasons at play?
So it was a decision driven by several factors,
Yeah.
not just technological advancement.
Right.
Trident offered greater range, allowing the UK to project power on a global scale
Right.
and hit targets much farther away.
Mm-hmm.
And this had significant implications for the UK's role in NATO
Yeah.
and its ability to deter threats from a greater distance.
So we're talking about a system designed to reach
Yeah,
almost anywhere on the planet.
pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not just about
Free.
defending the British Isles. It's about
Exactly. It's
yeah.
about maintaining a global presence.
maintaining that global presence.
Absolutely.
Which leads us to, I guess, the Vanguard-class submarines.
Yes.
These are the behemoths that carry Trident, right?
Imagine this.
Okay.
4 Vanguard-class submarines,
Yeah.
each a colossal machine
Right?
carrying up to 16 Trident second D5 missiles.
Wow.
These submarines are essentially self-contained cities
Right.
with a crew of around 135,
Gosh.
living and working in absolute isolation
Yeah.
for months on end.
It's incredible.
It really is.
It's hard for me to fathom
Yeah.
what life must be like on board.
Yeah.
And, we often discuss like the technical aspects of this,
Right.
but the human element is equally, I think, really compelling.
Yeah.
What's it like for those submariners, shouldering the weight of that responsibility?
Living on a Trident submarine is incredibly demanding,
Right.
both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
They work in shifts,
Right.
constantly monitoring the systems,
Yeah.
conducting drills,
Mm-hmm.
and just facing the psychological pressure
Oh, yeah.
of knowing they hold unimaginable destructive power
Yeah.
in their hands.
You mentioned the psychological strain on submariners.
Yeah.
This makes me wonder, have there been any incidents
Right.
that highlight those risks?
Well,
After all, we are talking about
yeah.
incredibly complex systems
Here.
operated under extreme pressure.
Yeah. There have been a few incidents, thankfully,
Right.
none resulting in accidental launches.
Yeah.
But these events really do serve as stark reminders, I think, of the inherent risks involved with nuclear deterrence.
Yeah.
The 2008 collision between British and French submarines,
Right.
both carrying nuclear missiles,
Yeah.
is a prime example, I think.
That's a chilling thought.
It is.
Even if like no one was hurt
Right.
and there were no leaks or anything,
Yeah.
it makes you realize
Yeah.
that potential for catastrophe is always there.
Always present. Yeah.
It highlights, I guess, that constant tightrope walk
Absolutely.
between deterrence
Yeah.
and the risk of unintended consequences.
It's a very fine line, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And the emergence of artificial intelligence
Yeah.
in defense systems just adds I think, another layer of complexity.
Uh-huh.
On one hand, you could argue that AI could enhance safety protocols,
Right.
potentially reducing human error.
Yeah.
But on the other, it introduces new vulnerabilities, like the potential for AI malfunction or even malicious manipulation.
So we're adding even more unknowns
Yeah.
into an already high-stakes situation.
High stakes, yeah.
It makes you wonder, beyond just this technology itself,
Yeah.
how does Trident factor into the UK's relationships
Right.
on the world stage?
Well, that's a crucial point, I think.
Yeah.
Because Trident is as much a political tool
Okay.
as a military one.
Right.
Its existence shapes the UK's relationships with its allies and adversaries.
Right.
For instance, it plays a key role, I think,
Yeah.
in the UK's commitment to NATO's collective defense posture.
So it's like a
Yeah.
seat at the table of global power.
If you like.
But that seat comes with a
It does, yeah.
hefty price tag.
Yeah.
We haven't even touched on the
Oh.
economic side of things yet.
Indeed, maintaining and upgrading Trident
Yeah.
is a significant financial undertaking for the UK.
Yeah.
It draws resources from other areas,
Right.
whether that's healthcare,
Yeah.
education, or social programs.
It's got to come from somewhere.
It does.
Yeah.
And this cost-benefit analysis fuels, I think, some really heated debates.
Yeah. It begs the question.
Yeah.
Is the security provided by Trident worth the opportunity cost
Yeah.
of those other priorities?
Yeah.
And on that note,
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier that
Yeah.
Trident's effectiveness hinges on this idea of strategic ambiguity.
It does. Yeah.
How does
Yeah.
that impact
Right.
public discourse, I guess,
Yeah.
and informed decision-making,
Well,
when so much of it is shrouded in secrecy?
that's the paradox, I think,
Okay.
of nuclear deterrence.
Right.
It relies on a degree of uncertainty
Okay.
about capabilities
Right.
and intentions.
Mhm.
Yet this secrecy makes it very challenging
Yeah.
to have those open,
Yeah.
well-informed public debates
Right.
about its role.
About Trident's role.
About Trident's role, yeah.
Yeah.
Its costs
Right.
and its potential alternatives.
It's a bit of a catch-22, isn't it?
It's in many ways, yeah.
We need transparency
Yeah.
to make informed decisions.
Yeah.
But complete transparency could undermine
Of course, yeah.
the very purpose of the deterrent.
Yeah.
So how do we reconcile, I guess?
Yeah. Well, this is where
Yeah.
informed public discourse, I think,
Yeah.
becomes really essential.
Okay.
Even without access to classified information,
Right.
citizens can engage with the ethical dimensions
Okay.
of nuclear weapons.
Right.
They can scrutinize the arguments
Yeah.
for and against deterrence
Mhm.
and explore the potential consequences
Right.
of nuclear war.
So while we may not have
Exactly.
all the pieces of the puzzle,
Yeah.
we can still grapple, I guess,
Absolutely.
with the bigger picture.
I think so.
You've painted quite a picture, I think,
Yeah.
of this balancing act
Right.
between secrecy and public engagement.
It's a tough one.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, I want to circle back to something
Okay.
we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
This idea of the human cost of Trident.
Right.
We just talked about the submariners living in these cramped conditions,
Yeah.
shouldering this immense responsibility.
It's easy to get caught up
Yeah.
in the technicalities of nuclear submarines
Right.
and forget that they are
Yeah.
home to a dedicated crew.
Yeah, they're people.
Yeah.
Life on board.
No.
One of those things is
It's a very unique blend
Yeah.
of high technology
right.
and stark simplicity.
Yeah.
Imagine spending months underwater,
Gosh.
your world confined to the metal hull
Right.
of this submarine.
It's a far cry from
Yeah.
the world we experience
Oh, yeah.
above the surface.
Absolutely.
You mentioned that they have to contend with
Yeah.
artificial light,
Mm-hmm.
recycled air,
Right.
desalinated water.
All of those things.
What kind of psychological impact does
Yeah.
that environment have?
Well, the psychological screening process
Okay.
for submariners is incredibly rigorous,
Right.
and for good reason.
Yeah.
They're looking for individuals
Right.
who possess not only
Mhm.
technical expertise,
Of course.
but this remarkable level
Yeah.
of mental resilience.
Yeah.
These are people entrusted with unthinkable power,
Right.
operating under extraordinary pressure.
Yeah, it makes you wonder
It does.
about the long-term effects.
Yeah,
How do these submariners readjust to life on land?
it's a good question.
Yeah.
After these extended periods
Right.
in such an isolated
Yeah.
and demanding environment,
It's got to be tough.
it's an aspect that deserves
Yeah.
further attention and research.
Right.
The psychological toll
Right.
of prolonged submarine service,
Yeah.
the challenges of reintegration into civilian life,
Right.
These are crucial areas of study, I think.
It's a huge adjustment, I'm sure.
Huge. Yeah. Understanding those human dimensions is vital as we kind of evaluate the sustainability of this continuous at-sea deterrence.
And we can't ignore the elephant in the room, I guess.
Yeah.
Which are the ethical questions surrounding nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Trident isn't just this complex piece of machinery.
No, it represents
this huge moral dilemma.
A real moral dilemma, yeah.
Yeah, at the heart of national defense.
It's at the very heart of it, yeah.
The ethics of possessing and potentially using such destructive force are constantly debated.
They are, yeah.
Some people would argue that.
Some argue that Trident's deterrent effect prevents larger-scale conflict, ultimately saving lives.
Right.
Others believe that the very existence of nuclear weapons creates an unacceptable risk.
It's kind of
no matter the potential benefits.
It's a question that goes beyond.
It does.
Strategic calculation.
It really does.
And delves into our fundamental values.
Absolutely.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm struck by the sheer complexity of this issue.
It is complex.
Trident's future is intertwined with so much.
It is,
Technological advancements, geopolitical shifts.
All of those things,
Evolving ethical considerations.
Huge, And we haven't even really touched upon the potential for disruptive technologies like hypersonic missiles, cyber warfare, to kind of upend the existing calculus of nuclear deterrence. What was once considered an intractable standoff might be completely rewritten in the coming decades.
A lot to process.
It is, absolutely.
We've journeyed from the history and technical specifications of Trident all the way to these profound ethical questions. And this uncertain future of warfare.
And that's precisely the point, I think, of this deep dive today. It's to equip you with the knowledge and the context to form your own conclusions.
We've not given any easy answers.
We haven't given any easy answers.
Because
there aren't any.
There aren't any. But by exploring these complexities, hopefully you're better prepared to engage in this critical conversation.
Absolutely.
So to our listener, we leave you with this. As technology advances, as global power dynamics shift, as ethical considerations evolve, what role will Trident play in the UK's future?
Good question.
And perhaps more importantly, what role do you believe it should play? The answers to those questions will shape not just the UK's destiny, but the future.
The future we all share.
We all share.